Uploading.
Oh my God.
Are we here? Is it?
Yeah, we're here. Yeah, we're here.
This is amazing.
I know. So is an intro video.
That intro video was awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was great. I can't believe I went and did all of that. It was
That
awesome.
Kudos to you. That was fantastic.
All right. Well, I think we need to do a little bit of introductions here.
I think introductions is a good place to start. That's actually where I was headed. For those of you who are new to the BJD Podcast, which should be all of you because this is the pilot episode, I am one of the co-hosts of the BJD Podcast, Ray. To my left is
We'll figure it out.
the incomparable Kevin Wilson. Kevin, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Last time I was in front of a camera doing a podcast, video cast, whatever you want to call video podcast now. I'm going to say vidcast because that just sounds cooler. Last time I was doing this type of shit, I was up in Massachusetts. Now I'm down in South Carolina. I'm in the Palmetto State now.
Palmetto. How are those bugs?
So I've run into quite a few bugs down here. I've met a couple of, they call it the palmetto bug, but it's basically just like a different version of a roach. Various beetles, bigger dragonflies down here. We had a red-bodied wasp come into our garage.
Nope.
Yeah, no. I was able to go and get a wasp killer and took care of that pretty quickly.
Yeah. No, thank you. You can keep those. You can.
Yeah, no. I don't feel like dealing with red body wasps or bald face hornets or white tailed or anything. None of that.
No, those does not sound like a good start to your day. Speaking of starts to the day, let's go on a little bit of an explanation as to why we are called the BJD Podcast. And I will start with the fact that we are both from Mass, you a recent transplant into the South. We tend to use the word...
Before you go any further, it sounded like your mic kind of cut out a little.
Did it?
Yeah, there we go.
Are we good?
Yeah, no, we're good. It just all of a sudden it went from, oh, hey, he sounds great to, whoa, hey, you just dropped off a little bit, but I can still hear him.
Dropped off the face of the earth. There are going to be some things that need to be tweaked, but that's how it goes in life. So a little bit about the name of the podcast, BJD. We are both from Mass, a current resident of South Carolina, former Mass resident. We use brother a lot, and also it's more of a wrestling term. All three of them, actually. If you watch old school wrestling, we're all fans of old school wrestling. In some of the promos, you're bound to hear a few brothers, a couple jacks, and some daddies. So why not make that the name of our podcast. Brother Jack Daddy. Daddy is not in reference into what we know it to be today. I am not Kevin's daddy. Kevin is not my daddy. However, Mr. Wilson is single, and if you would like him to be your daddy, please reach out to us. You can catch us over on Twitch and on YouTube. We will throw up the links momentarily. It is okay. But you can definitely reach out to us there. You can subscribe to us on Twitch at twitch.tv/the BJD Pod. You can also reach out to us over on YouTube. That link will be in the description. Because we are new, we do not have a following large enough to constitute, in YouTube terms, a custom URL. So the faster we can get to 100, the faster we can get a custom URL, and then we can go to youtube.com/the BJD Pod, where you can like, subscribe, and share all of our video on demand content for the low price of free $99.
We've also got a Twitter account right here. Follow it there. Twitter.com/the BJD Podcast. There's so far probably 3 tweets. 1 about the show today. 2 about the test stream I did last night to try to go and work out the kinks that apparently I didn't fucking work out. And 3 saying we're live today.
Let's give a little background information about some of the kinks from today.
Oh, God.
So my good friend Kevin here decided that he was going to send me the link to join the studio here for the web-based software that we use. And Kevin, we ran into some problems. What happened?
Well, I forgot that while I was doing the working out the kinks here. Okay, so how's this look? All right, if I do this setting, okay. If I go do this, do I sound good on my microphone here? I forgot that I muted Restream on Chrome to listen on Twitch. And yeah. It's Ray coming in, and I'm like, yeah, I can't hear you, but your microphone is going green. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's on your end. And then after like the 3rd or 4th time that you backed out, rejoined, I saw on the
speaker with the line
notification that said, "Hey, this site is muted. Do you want to continue to mute it?" It's what? I did that last night. No, I forgot about that. Oh shit! Whoops.
Yeah. So I restarted. We had a ginormous thunderstorm this morning. We lost power. So when I came home from work today, I had to pretty much set up life again. And in doing so, I thought that maybe the thunderstorm had fried something in my computer, maybe even my trusty mic here. And I was pulling my hair out until I get a message that says, you should be good now. I unmuted the site. And that right there is brother. Again, a brother, a jack, and a daddy.
Yeah. I wish I had a soundboard running right now. Because I got a couple of sound clips that I could have used for that moment.
I was thinking of a few clips that could have been used. Definitely. For future reference, this is not a kid-friendly stream. Right now, we're pretty clean, but when we get going, we get going.
Fucking A, we get going.
Fucking A. Here we go. First F-bomb of the night. 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in.
So you missed like the 2 others I had earlier.
Well, I had a few myself while I was restarting the tracing cables and all of that.
It's okay. I was helping my mother put together one of those 8-cube things for her craft room, and I'm like going, "Can you hold
down south?
What?
Do you have an IKEA down south?
I believe the closest IKEA is a couple hours away, or it might be Columbia, South Carolina. I'm about. So it's Greenwood, where I am.
But is the wood green?
Well, no, it's not green. Oh, actually, sorry, I lied. The closest one isn't even in my state.
Nice. Hey, look
It's
at that. Coming in from Twitch, we have our first person. Careless K says, hey,
hey, yeah, dude.
to that we say, hey, back. And don't forget to hit that follow button. Thank you, Careless K, for joining us.
Yeah, so the closest IKEA is 2.5 hours away, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't care how good your meatballs are. I am not traveling 2.5 hours to IKEA.
No.
I
Well,
will have that shipped to home, thank you.
so the cool thing about like where I am is like I have a Walmart. Like I leave my driveway, get to the street, take a left, go straight across a light, and at the second light, take a left, and I'm at Walmart.
Oh, nice.
You know, like I got a Lowe's, same direction, but before that first light I mentioned, you take a left, you're at Lowe's. You take a right, you go to Publix, you go to Marco's Pizza, you go to Red Bull, Smoothie King. There's a Chili's, there's a Cracker Barrel, and when I mean Cracker Barrel, I'm not talking like the one that Ray probably used to up in Duxbury or the ones in New England in general, which are Cracker Barrels, but it's New England style cooking Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
This is a Southern Cracker Barrel, all right? So like legit, okay?
Oh. So the only Cracker Barrel that I mean, I've been to a couple Cracker Barrels. There was one in Pennsylvania that I went to, and then obviously the one over by Gillette Stadium. Yeah, they're good. They're good for what they are. You're telling me that there is a difference in quality?
Yes. At least to me, because the one that I frequented was the one in Londonderry, New Hampshire. You know, so I mean, yeah, New Hampshire likes to call themselves the South of New England, but no, you're not.
Carolyn's K responds with our Cracker Barrel story and says, "See the Midwestern Cracker Barrels, though."
Yeah, I got a couple other people that have gone and said the same thing they did.
Okay, where are you currently from? Because if you're talking about Midwestern Cracker Barrels, then you must be somewhere in the Midwest or have frequented the Midwest. And while we wait for Kay to respond, let's talk about some things. What do you want to talk about first there, Kev? Because there's been a lot going on in many facets.
Well, Kay has gotten back to us. So they say I live in Mass, but originally from Ohio.
Ohio, very nice. Very nice.
Once again, proving everything leaves Ohio eventually.
With good reason.
Yes. Well, I guess one of the things I kind of wanted to go and say was just like I could talk for a couple more minutes or however long I go about South Carolina here, but you know, what I've noticed the most when I go into a store is people will stop to have a conversation with you.
No, I'm not for that. Leave me alone.
And you know what? I thought I don't know if I really would enjoy something like that. And then I'm like, wait, no, this isn't too bad. I mean, yeah, I kind of want to get my shit and get out, but no, this isn't too bad. I mean, I got into I went to a liquor store, of course, as one of the first orders of business I did down here.
Well, it should be the first order of business that gets done every day.
Well, yes. I got turned to a brand new drink down here. By the way, one thing I want to talk about Star Wars. I got The Force Awakens on TNT. It's muted, so we don't get copyrighted or banned or anything.
Definitely don't do that on our first episode.
Yeah, Disney's a little
touchy,
a little rough. Not like NBC Universal. But anyway, so they had that shot of the TIE fighters with the setting sun on Takadona. And it's just like, oh, Apocalypse Now much, huh?
Right?
And what a visual that is, and just what a shot, like from a cinematography standpoint.
Yep.
The oh god, The Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy in general was just excellent.
I thought so. I thought so. Of course, the faithful, the neckbeards, if you will, the gatekeepers of Star Wars lore.
Those buff on the boots.
How much we hate gatekeepers. I hate gatekeepers in every fan community. I hate gatekeepers in pro wrestling. I hate gatekeepers in Star Wars. Gatekeepers in video games. I mean, I just hate gatekeepers in general.
I do too.
Not fans of that new trilogy, which I'm not really sure why. I enjoyed it. My wife enjoyed it. And you know what? My granddaughter enjoyed it, which is what it's all about, right? You know, you get new fans because she was never a Star Wars fan. So with her watching it, it allowed me to go, hey, if you like that, let's watch the Clone Wars animated series. And then we started to go back into the original trilogy, and she became a Darth Vader fan, which, how do you know you're doing things right? She's a Darth Vader fan. And Kevin, why are we Darth Vader fans? Explain it for those that aren't aware.
Well, because I mean, it's Darth fucking Vader, you know. Though then again, like he's just a very iconic, not just very iconic. He's probably the most iconic villain in all of cinema history. And I mean, yeah, we do have some newer villains that have, you know, if you're a Game of Thrones fan like myself, you're definitely Strunk Bex, love it. Hey Bex, how's it going?
Welcome to the club. Let's make sure you hit that follow button.
I have the Twitch manager open, and they both have.
Awesome.
Yep. That was last night while I was doing my little, you know, hey, let's make sure all the kinks are out and all the bugs are fixed when they're not.
No, and if you want to hear more about the bugs and the kinks, watch our video on demand and check out the first 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah. So, basically, with Darth Vader, like, he's just iconic. He's an iconic villain. He is the top baddie, especially after watching the Kenobi series. He is, like, you go and look into, you know, I know Disney, when they bought Lucasfilm, Star Wars and all that, they went and said the extended universe, it's done, it's over. You know, that's now all Legends content. They've gone and taken from Legends content, put it into Disney canon. They are well within their rights to go and do that. I've said that since they bought it 10 years ago. They are well within their rights to go and say, yeah, no, we are going to go and do our own canon. But we like some of the stuff from Legends. They brought Thrawn in, right? And that was one that everybody loved, okay? So with Vader, they introduced the Vader comic series. There are multiple parts of this comic series that show Vader at his most powerful, at his most, like, I am feared throughout the galaxy. There was a point where he had assassination attempts put on him because Imperial officers in the beginning year of the Empire were very much, who the fuck is this guy, and why is he all of a sudden got so much power when we've been striving for years to get to the point that we're at? Kill this guy, kill this bastard. And so when Vader went to Palpatine and said, I know who it is, I need you to go and call a staff meeting, if you will. The Emperor pulled all the Imperial officers out and said, this guy right here is Darth Vader. He's the number 2 to me. Any command from him is a command from me. Any problems, talk to him. Proceeds to give Vader the floor. And what does Vader go and do? He goes and randomly names 5 Imperial officers and says, the next assassination attempt on my life, And then he closes his fist and kills all 5 of those simultaneously. And then says, I will choose 5 more Imperial officers at random and kill them until I have no more officers left. Nobody within the Imperial ranks tried to assassinate Darth Vader again.
No, and honestly, trying to assassinate Darth Vader in the first place, very dumb move.
Well, I mean, sorry, was I on? So there's other moments in the series, like asking Grand Moff Tarkin, I need you to hunt me. Take your best hunter and try to hunt me. And Vader kills 10 of the best hunters in the galaxy. And Tarkin only won on a technicality because Vader got struck by lightning and it messed up his suit.
Nice. But,
you know?
Getting back to one of the reasons why we enjoy Darth Vader as our favorite character is because, much like wrestling, in professional wrestling, you have a babyface and you have a villain, right? And the babyface can't be a babyface unless they have a villain, right? Because and it's the same way like that in the movies. You have to have a definable villain to go up against the babyface. Now, if you take Vader out of the Star Wars movies, what do you have? You have Luke, who is just nothing more than a whiny little bitch. That's it.
Whiny little bitch who just wants to go on and get converters for power cup links.
Right. But you add in Vader, who is that villain, and it creates a whole new dynamic. Very similar to the dynamic of Andre and Hogan, Sting and Flair. If we were to go present day, MJF and
CM Punk?
We could go Punk. I was thinking Wardlow's name escaped me. Like, I don't know how that was even possible. But MJF and Wardlow, when they did that, the conclusion of that 3-year storytelling. Roman Reigns, and in the beginning when he was going up against, was it Jay? One of them was, I know.
Who's the number one?
Who's the number two?
Who's number one? Who's the number two? And then eventually, who's the number three?
Well, I mean, you can't really mess him up because he's the only one with blonde hair.
He will still eventually, by somebody, get called Uso number 3.
Uso number 3.
So no, but you're right. You need, like, every good story. You know, like the Harry Potter series. The main good guy was Harry Potter. The main bad guy was Lord Voldemort. In Star Wars, it's
shall not be named.
Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. You know, for the original. And then it was Emperor Palpatine and the Jedi Order and the Separatists versus, like, any good hope in the Star Wars galaxy. No.
Now, let's go off on a little tangent about that, because to me, I felt like you have to have clearly discernible good guy, bad guy, right? I felt that there wasn't a clearly discernible good guy for the first, maybe even the second prequel trilogy. It's like we knew who the Emperor was, right? We knew who Palpatine was because of the first trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the prequel trilogy, we didn't really know the good guy. Like, so we have the background of Emperor Palpatine, so we know that he is the bad guy. Like, we know that because we know who he becomes. But who is the clear good guy? And I feel like
the prequel trilogy.
I feel like that's why some people, and I'm not talking about the gatekeepers, some people put that trilogy in the bottom third of the 9 movies.
So, like, Oh, damn it. Yawning will be a thing over
Big thing.
on my
Big
end.
thing.
Yeah, big thing, big thing. Coughing the world to not give me a yawn. But anyway, so I think the prequel trilogy offers a very interesting like question you just brought up about who's the like who's it who's the who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, because the Jedi Order, yeah, you might think the Jedi are the good guys, but when it comes to the teachings of the Jedi versus what the Jedi Order became by the time of the prequel trilogy, the start of the Skywalker saga, you would have look at them and go, are they really the good guys in this? Because they chose politics over the Force. You look at the prequels in general, you know that um, Chancellor Palpatine, Sheevy boy, you know that he's the bad guy. I think the prequels is really not that like good versus evil, because you know that evil triumphs at the end.
Right.
I think what that show,
Mhm.
sorry, I'm in the Disney Plus mindset. I think what that trilogy does is it showcases how everything went the way that it did in the original trilogy. Obviously, the sequel trilogy, you have the good guys being Rey, Finn, Poe, and the Resistance versus the First Order and Kylo Ren, and then eventually Snoke, and eventually Emperor Palpatine again. But I think the prequel trilogy was setting up the sequel trilogy, and there really isn't a good versus evil. They're showing the corruption politics can have. Trying not to touch that subject, but we might have to.
We should just get it out of the way when we get a free moment and just fucking tackle it.
Maybe in episode 2.
You don't want to overload everybody. You don't want to go from Star Wars talk to
Yeah, let's like have this be like that whole hooray, we have a brand new one, and then episode 2, okay, we're gonna like hit you in the mouth with some shit.
teeth.
We're gonna punch your teeth in with some really boring and stupid shit, but hey, we have to talk about it. Anyway, but yeah, no, I think the prequel trilogy is very much a showcase of all the shit. They always go and told me for years at work, shit rolls downhill. Big boss tells big but not as big boss, who tells manager, who tells supervisor, who tells lead, who tells me. And by the time it gets to me, it's like, oh, what the fuck? It's like a really bad game of telephone, because the shit rolls downhill. And I think that's what the prequel trilogy was all about, was all the bad choices and all the bad juju. You definitely know that Palpatine is the bad guy, but it's not that typical good versus evil. I mean, you kind of, when there's 9 movies or 11 movies associated with the Skywalker saga, you kind of understand that not everything is going to have that, I have to use him as an example. 10th Doctor, he's the one in an episode called Blink. If you don't know this episode of Doctor Who, look it up. You will never look at a statue the same way. But I digest. So, okay, Ray, you look a little bit confused. Basically, there's a species of aliens called the Weeping Angels. And what they do is they're quantum locked. You're looking at them, they don't move. You blink, and they move. And if you blink and they're close enough, they can touch you and zap you back in the past and eat and feed off of that energy that you could have had in the present. They basically, as the 10th Doctor says, they're the nicest psychopaths in the universe. They kill you by making you live to death. Zap you into the past and make you live to death. But in this episode, he goes and says, most people assume that time is a linear projection between cause and effect, when actually it's more like a great big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. And I think most people when it comes to a movie series, they expect it to be good versus evil, good versus bad, and sometimes it doesn't work like that. It's just a bunch of wibbly wobbly timey wimey type of shit. That's what the prequels are, because it isn't that linear good versus evil. My camera keeps auto refocusing and makes you blurry. It might be to do with the lighting. It's all work in progress over here.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Let me shut that one off. Maybe that'll help.
I think maybe it was too bright.
Yeah, no, it could have been too bright. I don't need I know we're jumping all over the place. We've been talking Star Wars for about 20 minutes, and I'm jumping back and moving down south. I lived in a place, my old house. We didn't have any overhead lights, not even in the bathrooms with their overhead lights. Everything was like a wall sconce or like table lamps. I have an overhead light. I have it off because it's just too bright. I could go and turn it on right now and show you guys, but I'm already having refocusing issues, so hey, whatever. But I love it. I love this place. It's great.
Well, I'm definitely glad that you are enjoying your new place and your new surroundings.
Yes.
Going back to what you were talking about earlier, I'm not really sure how I feel about every time I walk into a store, some rando bando wants to have a conversation with me. I am very much a get my shit and get the fuck out because I hate people.
It is not every time. The liquor store is where I found it the most, or gas stations is where I found it the most. Your smaller little places, Walmarts and Publix, I'm not really seeing it a ton because, we're all in there to go and get our stuff. And I'm also brand new. They don't know me from a hole in the wall. But, person at the gas station who's very personable with everybody that comes in, or the person at the liquor store who's incredibly personable and showed me some good shit, like having Firefly Moonshine, Captain Morgan Orange Twist Rum, which is like a vanilla orange twist. So it's like creamsicle itself.
My wife is a big fan of cherry vanilla.
You add Dr. Pepper cream, like the creamsicle Dr. Pepper, or not the cream soda Dr. Pepper. You add those two together, and it is exactly like an orange creamsicle, and it's better than Jameson Orange.
I never thought I would hear you say those words.
You know what? I've found some
Jameson.
I found some good whiskey. There's one distillery called 6 and 20 that I found a really good whiskey out of there. Really good bourbon whiskey. And I had a friend who she gave me right before I left. She gave me a bottle of Tito's vodka that's about halfway gone because sweet tea and vodka is a very good combination.
Yes.
Oh,
it's a very bad combination too.
It's a good combination until you step on the scale, and then it's a bad combination.
I'm just talking about the fact that it goes down so nicely.
Yep.
That it's bad. But yeah, anything with that much sugar is going to be bad. But we take those risks knowing that, and that's why we look the way we look.
Oh yeah. But it's all about moderation. You go and have a glass of whiskey, and then you go and drink some water with it. You go and have a couple of beers, and you have some water with it. And at this point, me being 31, I'm well past the age of, let's go and down. Oh, let's go and drink and drink and drink and be drunk all the time. I'm well past that. It's like I'm 31. I don't need to be drinking 12 packs a night and downing an entire bottle. If I accidentally down a bottle in one night,
oh, it'll happen.
it'll happen. I'm not saying I'm perfect. It was one night at the school I used to work at. I thought I was doing okay until I had that third glass of whiskey, and the next day I almost called out. And I walked in, the same friend who gave me the vodka, she's looking at me like, "You don't look good." I'm like, "I'm barely hanging on right now, okay?"
'Tis but a thread. 'Tis but a
Like, oh, it was a very, very thin thread. Like, I
Speaking of
think one false move and done.
Speaking of work, while you were up here, you were in the same line of work as I was, or I currently am. And do you remember what what the summers consisted of? I know
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not that far removed from not working here, but it involved floor stripper and waxing. And what happens when you throw the stripper on the floor before you go to buff it? What happens, Kevin?
Depends on how long you're waiting to go and strip the floor with the stripper.
25 minutes.
Congratulations, you created an ice rink in the middle of summer.
Yes, you did. And for those of you that are watching and wondering why the hell does he have a neck pillow on, I will let you know that I put in some overtime today, even though it's more considered voluntary because my district is dumb and they don't have overtime. But I do have a deadline that I need to meet, and the holiday kind of screws it up, so I have to do what I have to do. Well, I was working in one of the offices, buffing. I had the stripper on. I had the stripper pad going on the floor machine, and I stepped. And when I stepped, the machine went forward, and I stayed in place. And there you go, face down, bam. The worst part about, I'm laughing about it. I was so pissed when it happened. Luckily, there were no injuries other than me having to wear a neck pillow because it jammed up my shoulder and everything. But the worst part about it was that I could see everything just happen, and I knew that I was absolutely helpless. So all I could do was make sure that my head was up so that my face didn't bounce off of the floor, and I just took a face bump. I just took a face bump because when you're just looking at the floor coming up at you, there's not there's not much more you can do. And
Yeah,
then
no.
the front of my clothes were covered in slurry. It was just absolute ridiculousness. It re-aggravated, yesterday I was moving some stuff because I'm the only one there. I tweaked something in my neck and shoulder blade. And I woke up this morning and I was doing pretty good. I was like, oh, hey, it only lasted a day. Well, face plant.
Yep.
So wearing a neck pillow just kind of keeps the posture and stops you from slouching. Because when I slouch like that, that's when it hurts. So we're just going to wear this for a little while. But so that, remember backstage when I was like, oh, content.
Yeah. Well, there's your content.
Right there.
I've had it happen to me too. The school I worked at, the school specifically I worked at, Bagnell. I was working at one of the other schools in the district. It's a big school district with 6 schools. All the custodians during a February vacation week back in 2018, we were told, okay, hey, we have a project for you guys. We're going to send you all to Bagnell. We're going to go and strip the hallways down to the tile to go and put brand new wax on, because the last time it had been happened like that was, I think, one of them. I think one of the custodians at Bagnell went and said that the last time was like 2008, 2009. So like you're talking 10 years. And I knew that one of the older custodians would put up to 10 coats of wax in the hallways. Yeah.
No, actually, every other year I strip. Every other year I strip, and then the following year I do scrub and recoats, man.
So we always did a scrub and recoat because we did not have the time, because, again, same thing that you're dealing with right now, your district, no overtime. Usually overtime happened for us in August, starting August 1st normally, or around August 1st, was you've got carte blanche on overtime. And when I was working there, By the end of August, it was, okay, next summer, we have to remember everybody gets carte blanche on overtime except Kevin. Because, no, dude, seriously, I would go and work. Like, if I could, I'd pull a 16-hour, 18-hour type of day because, well, they're going to pay me for it. And,
I understand. I would rather smash deadlines than have my back up against a wall come, 2 weeks before school starts.
Yeah.
That is the most nerve-wracking time, which is...
Especially you got a teacher and the friend of mine, at the school, she was just like, I went and mentioned, like, at the end of the summer, you have the teachers coming in with the Kenya list. She's like, the what? I said, oh, one of the older custodians used to work with. He created it. It's called the Kenya list. So when the teachers come in and, hey, can you do that? Oh, hey, can you do that? Can you do that? And it's like, okay, look, time out here. Can you buzz off and let me do my work so that the school can be done? I'll add it to my list.
Last year was I was so inundated with Kenya. Can you help me move this? Can you help me move that? That I literally have, out of my 10 teachers, it's a relatively small school. Out of my 10 teachers, 7 of the rooms, when I finish with them, all of the stuff is just going in the middle of the room and they can disperse it. Because I would normally set it back up to spec how it was before I broke down the room. And last year, I got so inundated with, can you help me move this? Can you help me move that? And then the teachers that didn't ask, I'd be walking by and I just hear them dragging stuff across a brand new floor. And my soul would die a little bit. Well, what little bit left I have one would die. And I finally was just like, so, we're not going to do that anymore. Because what was happening is they were putting it all in the middle, and then they were fixing it the way that they wanted it to. So that's when I was like, you know what? Before school ends this year, are you okay? Do you want your stuff in the middle of the room so you can disperse it how you want? Yes. And that was pretty much the answer for almost all of them, with the exception of the teachers that are in our modular, our trailers, portable classrooms, which have, the way that it's set up is the most optimal way for it to be set up. There's no changing it around. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to be, and hopefully that cuts down on my Kenya list. However, this summer, let me tell you, because we haven't talked about this. This summer, I have the mass-funded Summer Eats program, which they were doing that during COVID, right? Where they would, they would have breakfast, and if you had children, whether they went to the school or not, you could drive by, they would drop, you could pick up a breakfast, and then you could be on your merry way. And they did that in 2020, they did that in 2021. However, in 2022, they had decided that they're still going to do that for breakfast and lunch, just like they had the past couple of years. However, this year, they want you to come in and sit down. So now that runs all summer. I've lost the use of my gymnasium, which is literally my cafeteria, my gymnasium at my auditorium. It's also the place where I would store stuff that I needed to during the summer. So I've lost use of that. They're working on doing a boiler replacement and an asbestos abatement this summer. And I have a new director that is starting. So my summer is not as relaxing as I would like it to be. I am sure that once I get the clusterfuck of this, the start of this out of the way, it might be a little bit smoother.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a cluster, and I've definitely gone through shit like that. The district I worked at the start of COVID, we went through a facilities director change. Obviously, it was all touch and go of like what can be in the classroom, what can't. Now this can be in a classroom. Nope, we changed it back. It can't be in a classroom. Now it can be back in the classroom. Now it can't be in a classroom. We can only do it this way. We can only have this many kids. We can only space them out this far. Now we can do this far. Last summer, it was more of the same, a little bit lax. Like, all right, we can add this back in. The teachers can have this back in. and eventually I loved it. After February break, they went and said, "Yeah, you don't have to wear your mask in the building anymore. You guys are all set." So of course, I'm seeing everybody. I'm like, "That's what you look like?
Right?
Oh, wait, that's what you look like?" They looked at me like, "That's what you look like?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I look like." And some of them are like, "I feel like my friend. She's just like, kind of feel naked without it." I'm like, "Yeah, I wasn't wearing it all week last week, to kind of prepare for myself to not have to wear it again."
It was crazy.
He's like, "But it was supposed to be today." I'm like, "I can assume you don't. You ain't gonna say anything to anybody." She's like, "Yeah, it's like good."
That last week was vacation. Who was in the building?
There was me and like two other people in the building. That was it.
Yeah,
So it's just like, eh.
Going back to the whole when COVID started, right? We were told 6 feet apart. So I set up every classroom, and where every chair was 6 feet apart from every other chair in that room. So like this chair was 6 feet apart from the chair next to it, which was 6 feet apart from the chair, or 6 feet or more apart from the chair over there, and the teachers that so it was a pain in the ass, but everybody got like a 6 foot radius, right? Um, the teachers come in and they're like, and I just hear like tables scraping across the floor. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Oh, well, I need to do this. I'm like, that's not 6 feet apart. Oh, that's fine. I'm like, what?
Yep.
No, it's not fine. Per the CDC and DESI, it's got to be 6 feet. They're like, oh, it's fine. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's how we're rolling. That's what we're doing. Okay, whatever. I was like, all
You,
right.
you just gotta shake your head at some of the stuff that there was one teacher, but I need to go and have both of my rugs in my room. Like, you're not getting any rug in your room. That's not a COVID thing right now. All the
Yeah,
rugs are going to be put in the store, And then some of them were like, "Oh, but I need this, and the this that they need is at the top of a pile of other furniture." And it's like, all right, I'll get to it when I can because I might need a little bit of extra help, but I need this at the end of today.
no, that's not happening.
Okay, I'm going to get to it when I get to it because I have other stuff I need to go and do. The first year with the COVID stuff
That was
was rough
ridiculous. That was
because all the school I worked at was 4 floors, and they weren't allowed to eat in the cafeteria at first, so they had to all eat in the classrooms, which meant bringing trash barrels up, which we're trying to learn. We're trying to go and teach, and the barrels are noisy. I'm like, okay, let me go and fix that. It's WD-40 all the cans. Oh, hey, we still hear the wheels though. I'm like, yeah, because they're old. So then I got used to like lifting them up, 2 wheels instead of all five.
Mhm.
And then it was like, I'm trying to go and throw the bags out, and oh man, it's really, I'm like, hey, can you guys like cut me some slack here as I'm trying to go and do this,
Right.
please?
It's a little ridiculous how it's at times. It felt like it was their world and we were just living in it. Um, a little insane, if you ask me, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Although the upside was that because of it being COVID and us getting COVID funding, that freed up like a lot of our PPE stuff, like our gloves, masks and stuff. That was all covered by COVID. So that freed up extra funds for when you do your supply orders. So I ordered new bases for every single trash barrel, and they stopped squealing.
Yeah, and I didn't think, like, I was told, because at the very beginning of COVID, we were told that, because it was a public school building that was owned by the town that it was in, that there was the potential, just at the very beginning, they didn't know anything at all, that it could be used as a field hospital. So order enough that you can go until the end of next school year. So that way, if this gets turned into a field hospital, the town will go and pay us back for everything that they use, blah, 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 blah. So I said, okay, no problem. So I did that. And this past Christmas, my former facilities director, I would go and help him out at Christmas by playing a certain Christmas time person. Can't say the name just in case anybody goes and listens to this podcast. That night, we're snooping around trying to figure out who I was. But as I was talking, they gave me some dinner, and the topic of like stock came up, and his daughter was who worked at that school. It's like, yeah, I still go in because the door will be open, and I see like all the paper towels that were there, and her father, the facilities director, goes, "Yep, nope, that school is good. They don't need to order anything for a couple of years." I'm like, "Who told me to do that?"
I'm following order.
I follow orders. He goes, "I know. I just you were the only one who did." I'm like, because I care. Hell, I left my school in good shape.
Right? I mean, my favorite enough. We converted an old office into our PPE room, and that's where all of the hand sanitizer, the alcohol wipes, the masks, all of that, anything pertaining to COVID and PPE went in that room. They had a locksmith come in with a digital keypad. We installed a digital keypad with a code that only myself and the director were supposed to have. Here's the problem. The facilities director told the locksmith to program every single school with the same code. So I have therapists in my school that go to different schools in the district. I have other staff in my school that go to different schools in the district. I literally had one therapist walking around with the code inside of her badge on the backside so she could see what the code was. And then people would see her going in and they're like, "Oh, you have the code?" She's like, "Yeah, here's the code." So I would go in and I'd have to do a weekly inventory. Now, most of the time, they would ask me. I'd get an email. I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Let me get that right to you." And I would check it off on the inventory sheet that I made, right? So I had a running total, and then I'm looking at the running total. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm the only one here, so it should be fine. Just for the hell of it, I counted. I'm like 7 short here, 8 short here, 12 short there, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I go to the director and I'm like, "Did you give any supplies to anybody?" No. It just so happened that I was on lunch in my office, but I was actually talking to the teacher in the classroom across the way. And as I'm talking to her, I hear ping, 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 ba-doo. And I stuck my head out, and it was not the director coming out of that office. And I went, "Oh, So I paid attention. And after following them I wasn't following them. When I would see them in the hallway, I would just kind of take notice of their presence. And then I finally saw them grab their badge and go like this, and then do. And I'm like, "Son." And I was like, "Hey, how'd you get the code?" And he was like, "Oh, it's the same code for all the buildings." And I was like, "How'd you get the code?" "Oh, I got it over at, insert name of other school." I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." I sent an email off because I'm like, this, because that means that I can't account for, well, why did you use 4 packages of alcohol wipes last week and then you're missing 17 packages this week? Because that's what was happening is, after the code got around, people would go in and grab like 3 packages so that they wouldn't have to keep running back. And I was like, the code is out, and it wasn't because of me. We need to change the code. That was mid-2020. The code is still the same.
Oh.
today. Not that it matters now, but yeah, 5150.
Yeah. Hey, look, we had our own code stuff. There's 3 buildings that are coded and 3 buildings that are not at my school district. Um, and I worked at one building that was coded for the last year, and then I worked at one building for a few years that wasn't coded. So the building that was coded, I would every once in a while get called down because, hey, the code went off. Can you run down? Yeah, sure, no problem. There's 3 hours overtime. Thank you very much. I'll take it again. Um, but we never had any issues with people who were using the code. We only had issues with too many people having keys and not knowing that the building was coded. So all of a sudden, you would have a teacher on a Saturday when no one was around. Oh, I didn't know the building was coded. Yeah, you walking in the building with your key trips the code. Get out. The friend of mine, she was long-term sub going to be a teacher for the remainder of this past school year. So she's like, hey, would you be able to help me get into the school so that way I could go and do the classroom, like finish setting it up for the Monday? I'm like, yeah, sure. She goes, okay. Do I need a key at all? I said, well, you're also going to need a code, and I have the code, and I don't just give it out. So yeah, I need to be in there. It's like, oh, okay. So I go in, punch in the code. Of course, I go in, and I'm like, what time are you going to be there? Because I'm going to be late. She goes, it's okay. I'm running late too. I went, oh, thank God. I'm just waking up because I didn't go to bed till 4.
Oh my God.
Thanks, ADHD.
That's that's actually very similar to me. This year, obviously, we got to have masks off in after February break.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I always try to not, because we don't have any subs, because my district refuses to pay people um, and stuff. I
Oh,
uh, I always
that was
try to end up
one of the
not taking.
reasons.
Mhm.
Sorry, Ray, just to say this, that was one of the reasons why I elected to move down to South Carolina, because I got paid trash for the work and responsibilities that I had during the day. You know, the pay didn't reflect that, and I couldn't, being in Massachusetts, off and on that pay, I couldn't live up there on my own.
Right.
We would have needed to find somebody who made enough money, and I didn't want to, like, it would have been having to go to Craigslist or ask friends. And I also am the type of person that would never go and ask friends, hey, would you be able to take me while my family moves down to South Carolina? No. So I decided, you know what? I'll go down to South Carolina. I'll go and see what happens.
No, it's absolutely relatable. I understand.
Yeah.
I looked at my since they stopped overtime. I looked at my paycheck, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is I haven't made this much. I haven't made this little since like 2011.
Mm. Hey, well, I'm going to be feeling that. I do have a job down here. I just recently got hired. My orientation from Walmart starts on July 14th.
Nice.
Um, and the pay is so much less than what I was making up north. But I'm like, but you know what? The cost of living down here is cheaper. Stuff
Right.
down here, despite historically high inflation and gas prices, stuff down here is less expensive than it was up north. So I'll
That's
be able to, like, gas. I don't know what the gas prices are up in Massachusetts anymore because obviously I don't live there.
I think last week I paid for a half a tank of gas. Cost me $80 for my truck, and it was like 5.69 gallon.
So I saw it today when I was bringing some boxes over to the storage unit we got, I saw $4.12 a gallon for regular unleaded.
Oh my.
Yeah, so that's a full. So for my friends back in the greater Haverhill area where I grew up, please let me know what you guys were paying when you guys watch on YouTube on the VOD. Oh God, $5.69 a gallon. Jeez. Well, what is it? A diesel truck or standard?
No, it is a 5.7 liter V8, and I put green in it.
Gotcha. All right. So you're also South Shore guy, so it might be a little bit more expensive than up on the North Shore.
Yes, that is true. Hey, Kevin, real quick.
Yes.
Does the president control the price of gas?
No.
Okay, just wanted to get that covered.
So the only downside as to why that you're getting the stickers that say "I did that" is because, well, he's the president,
Mhm.
and it's an unfortunate thing. It's happened in the last 50 presidents, and we haven't had a 50. Buck stops there.
Mhm.
President Biden's the top guy. He's
Get
going to
rolled.
get the blame, even though he is not the one to go and blame for it. You know, there's a lot more factors at play. Putin's invasion of Ukraine is absolutely one of them, but it's not the sole reason why gas prices are higher right now. You know, there's other reasons, stuff we can get into at a later date.
There you go.
You
But
know,
I just wanted to make that note. Nobody associated with this podcast thinks or believes that the president is in charge of the price of gas.
yeah, no.
Now,
The stickers are funny to look at.
listen, I do get a little bit of a chuckle for a multitude of reasons, which we will cover in the coming episodes. But so in the intro to our podcast, it talks about everything life, sports, and pro wrestling, and all things in between. Right? Let's talk about some sports. Now, we're both Boston guys. We're both Boston sports guys. As you can tell by our color scheme, black and gold,
Mm-hmm.
colors of your Boston Bruins.
Our Boston Bruins, or your Boston Bruins if you're watching. I do have one friend who, if she does watch this, she's not going to like the color scheme, but I don't care. You were in the Stanley Cup final a year ago. Be happy.
Is she a Lightning fan?
I said a year ago. I didn't say this year.
Well, who was in the final last year?
So the Lightning in the last 3 years, by the way, congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche for winning the Stanley Cup and stopping the national nightmare that was the Tampa Bay Lightning getting 3 in a row.
I am okay with that.
You gotta go and commend Tampa Bay Lightning, that entire organization. The fact that in the salary cap era of the NHL, getting to 3 in a row is amazing, and it shows the talent that team has. And I fully expect the Tampa Bay Lightning to be in the Stanley Cup final next year again. I don't see a team in the East being able to beat that.
If they're in the Stanley Cup finals next year, I'm not going to really be all that surprised.
No.
You know,
the only team I think could maybe give them, because they did in the first round, to maybe go and give them a little bit of a tough series is Toronto. After that, they dispatched, I think they faced Florida in the second round. They dispatched them pretty quickly. And then they faced the Rangers. And yeah, the Rangers had a 2-0 lead, but that got squandered pretty quick. But the Colorado Avalanche, whenever they go to the Stanley Cup, they win the cup. And it was also the quickest to be dented, because 5 minutes in, as they were doing the team photo. And the other night, it got dented again.
I missed that
one. No, they were one of the players on a club has it over his head, and he fell backwards, and boom, onto the floor it went.
But you know what?
Cog has the cutest one. He had his daughter going and got out of it.
Yes, I do remember. So some Bruins news.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we fired
Yeah.
Bruce Cassidy as the head coach of the Boston Bruins because Don Sweeney needed to keep his job. And the only thing that I can surmise from this is that when ownership and Neely had the meeting with Sweeney, Sweeney pretty much put everything on Cassidy's shoulders. My draft picks would have panned out if Bruce was better handling younger talent. We would have been better if Bruce was better at handling younger talent, and if the veterans got better along better with him, essentially making Bruce Cassidy out to be incompetent and not knowing how to do his job. Even though, in my opinion, over the past 2 seasons, he made chicken salad with the chicken shit that he was given. So I feel like Don Sweeney, in an attempt to save his job, went and placed all the blame on Bruce Cassidy, and they let Bruce Cassidy go. Now we were looking for a head coach. Dan Quinn was a front runner, a local guy, BU guy. He didn't really do anything for me. An announcement was made that they hire out of the blue Jim Montgomery, former Dallas Stars coach and current St. Louis Blues assistant coach. And I thought that was a much better hire than Dan Quinn could ever be. Because he has NHL experience both as a head coach, and an assistant coach. And I think that he's going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay. Because he also knows how to deal with the younger talent, which evidently Bruce Cassidy didn't know how to do. According to some reports, he would be yelling at the younger talent. But after hearing what he was yelling at them, it wasn't anything bad. It was more accountability stuff. So do we no longer want our players to be held accountable?
Well, no, because it's the age of, it's the POA, the pussification of America. It's the type of, the coaching that we brought these players up to be, which is this kind of softball, approach of it's okay. We'll make sure you're on the top line, Jake DeBrusque. We won't actually trade you, Jake. By the way, the first draft that Don Sweeney had, 2015, he had 3 picks in the first round in a row. He picked Jacob Zaboral, who's had very little time up at the big club in the Boston Bruins. Jake DeBrusque, who I just mentioned, is, I want to be traded. I'm not being treated with respect. I don't like it here. I want to be traded. And then Zachary Senyshyn, who is now on the Ottawa Senators club. The very next pick, that was picks 13, 14, and 15. The very next pick, Matt Barzal.
Yeah, I know.
Plays for the Islanders and beat your ass to get to the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago against Tampa. Mm-hmm. Then you also have Kyle Connor. Plays for the Winnipeg Jets. Pretty good player. Thomas Chabot. Pretty good player. Let's see. Let's go move over to 2016.
Hold on right there. Let's go back to the 2015 draft. Jake DeBrusque. When he brought up Jake DeBrusque, he talked about him requesting a trade because he didn't feel like he was being treated with respect. I will say this, and I kind of tend to stick up for Jake DeBrusque because Jake DeBrusque, during the COVID year, even went on record to say this, playing in empty arenas, being away from our families the way that we were, it has affected me mentally in ways that I can't describe. So he said that, and I remember because there were some people on local sports radio between the hours of 2 and 6 that would talk about how much, like how it was a cop out. And I'm sorry, if you have worked with mental health, or if anybody here does have any sort of issues with mental health, A, it's not something to joke about. And B, if somebody is telling you that it has affected them to the point that they notice it, for all we know, Jake DeBrusk, I mean, he could be absolutely self-aware and being self-aware about his mental state. Some people are, some people aren't. Let's say that he's not all that aware of his mental state because he's a hockey player, right? Lots of hits to the head on a pretty frequent basis. So let's say that he's not that aware of his mental state. For something to be that clear that he's like, no, there is something, and it's affecting my mental well-being, that means that it's big. So I tend to cut him some slack. And maybe, yes, maybe that is why he requested the trade, because he's like, oh, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but what if, and it could be a big if, he wasn't getting, he'd be like, no, listen, my head is not in the right spot. And they would laugh it off, or they wouldn't treat it properly, or they wouldn't, just, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, yuck. That kind of mentality. Which when I say that, I say it in a mocking term because that's pretty much been everybody's answer to everything. However, there are some caveats to that. Mental health being one of them, right? You feel depressed, just work through it. It'll pass. No, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain, and once you get it treated and possibly have medication for it to correct the imbalance, you're going to feel that way. Getting to the root of the problem. So for all we know, that could be part of the reason, and that's why he was like, no, I request a trade. And then he started playing his balls off. And people were like, whoa, is this because he wants a trade? Yeah, maybe it is because he wants a trade. Maybe he realizes that in order for him to be, in order for him to increase his market value, he actually has to start doing stuff. But the moral of this is that the point of this is that I will not destroy Jake DeBrusk the way that he gets destroyed in local Boston media, because I feel like there is some weight to what he had said during the COVID year, during playing in the bubble. Because there are a lot of athletes that haven't rebounded from that. And I'm not saying that they haven't rebounded from catching COVID, but just think about it. You're used to playing in front of 17,000 people night in, night out. And you spent a year or season playing in an empty arena, and then had a short layoff to start your next season. Which, if I'm not mistaken, there weren't crowds in the start of the season, were there?
No, and if there were, it was limited.
Maybe like 5,000 people.
Yeah, or like a percentage of everything. I get where you're coming from, and I do, like, being a part of the mental health train myself. With the ADHD comment I made, I do understand that. I definitely went through my own bullshit when it came to mental health during COVID. And I definitely had my own way of getting myself out of it. And I've currently been going through it because I'm in a brand new state. All of my friends are 1,000 miles away, and the only way that I can communicate with them is via technology, which is not always the greatest. You don't catch on, like the usual, like, social cues you're used to. I haven't made any friends down here because I didn't have a job. I didn't want all of a sudden, like, oh, hey, we're going to Greenville for, a game for the Greenville Drive. You want to come? When I don't really have an income at the moment to be able to support that. So, like, I've got my family that I'm with. I got my grandfather and his girlfriend, and that's it. My aunt and her 3 kids, like, they're young enough that there really isn't a ton of, like, hey, commonality. We don't have a ton of that because the oldest of our kids is 18. I'm 31. There's a big gap in what we like and what we don't like. But you're right. Maybe Jake DeBrusk went and bumped up his stock after wanting to be on the trade market, and maybe maybe Bruce Cassidy, as much as he was able to make the chicken shit that Don Sweeney gave him, and not just drafting, but trading and free agency, into chicken salad. But maybe Jim Montgomery will be able to take the chicken salad out of chicken shit and make it into a tastier chicken salad. Maybe Bruce Cassidy just wasn't using the right amount of salt, or there wasn't enough salt and pepper for taste. And maybe Jim Montgomery has that. And I wish Bruce all the success in the world in Vegas. And honestly, the spiteful pettiness in me says, I hope Bruce wins a Stanley Cup in Vegas before the Bruins win one with Jim Montgomery. Just to go and say, natty, poof, poof, you guys made the wrong choice. But that's the spiteful pettiness in me.
Sounds an awful lot like Tom over team to me.
Yeah, well, Tom was right. Tom over Bill.
Yeah, he was all day, every day.
I am definitely going to channel that energy from a certain. He not only is on the 2 to 6. I think I know exactly one of the people you were talking about on that 2 to 6 show back in Boston. He also has a Saturday show from 11 a.m. to 2. He has a certain way about him that I do agree with most of, but not all, because that's the beauty about being your own person, is you don't have to agree with absolutely everything that this person does to be a fan of theirs.
Right.
But a lot of the drafts that Don Sweeney's had, Jake DeBrusk, he's a maybe with the production he had, and it's a maybe just because did he only up his stats and up his game because he wanted to be traded and bump his stock up to be traded, or was he sincere in, I'm going to try to play better? When it comes to the 2016 entry draft in the NHL, Charlie McAvoy's a hit.
Absolutely.
Charlie McAvoy's an absolute hit. He's a stud. He's the number one defensive guy on the team, and he's definitely accountable. I could definitely go and see him being a captain one day. Trent Frederick,
It's like Big Fudge right there on skates.
Yeah, and hey, look, I'm a big bad. I'm gonna beat you up. Yeah, it hasn't really done much.
No, I mean, he's gotten beat up a couple times.
Yes. I wish we could go and get him, but unfortunately he plays for the wrong red, white, and blue. Nick Suzuki playing in Montreal. Oh, I wish we could have him so bad. Maybe if Montreal continues to suck like they always do, then maybe, we'll have that very rare Montreal-Boston trade.
Oh, fuck, perhaps.
Fingers crossed. But Eero Vakanainen, I can never remember how to pronounce his name. He was
the last name Vakanainen.
Yeah, no, it was a great last name. He plays for the Ducks now. He got traded away for Lindholm this past season. Lindholm, not terrible.
Oh, serviceable.
Yes. I believe 2018. No, we did not have a first-round pick in 2018. Let me go and look. The Boston Bruins first-round pick went to the Ottawa Senators as a result of a trade that sent Pittsburgh's first round to New York. That was the trade that sent Rick Nash to Boston in exchange for Ryan Spooner, Matt Bolesky, and Ryan Lindgren. And the Rick Nash deal didn't really do what they wanted. Yeah, no.
Because I was amped as hell for that trade. I was like, oh, Rick Nash.
I was too. I was like, let's fucking go. Let's do it. And now as we get into, the 2019 John Beecher, who We haven't seen anything yet. He's still down in Providence. 2020. Yeah, at this point, like I'm not going to say anything about 2020 or 2021 and 2022 because these guys really haven't gone up yet. Like the top three. I think the only one that 2022 we can't talk about yet. Excuse me. The only one. Oh, where is he? Whatever draft had Cale Makar in it. Since he's a current Stanley Cup champion.
Oh.
Like maybe that's a bit of a whiff.
A whiffer. It's a little bit of a whiffer.
Yeah, a little bit. So, but hopefully Jim Montgomery is able to go and do something good for the Bruins. I'm not sure. I think the problem is more of the same thing you have with the Sinden days for the Bruins, where as long as we're making money for the Jacobs, I think we're okay. Which kind of has a lot of John Henry energy with the Boston Red Sox, who for the last few years I've been chomping at the bit for the day that he goes and sells the team.
I just decided to come on your show and set the record straight. Shut the fuck up, John Henry.
Yeah, the only reason you went on that show 11 years ago with Felger and Maz is because, well, you didn't like how they were talking about me and the team, and I want to set the record straight.
Yeah, and you know what? Everything they fucking said about you, John Henry, they were absolutely fucking right. You Pittsburgh pet buying fuck.
Yep. Now, don't get me wrong, with the Red Sox this season, they don't have a closer, so of course things are very like, oh my god, tight butthole syndrome when it comes to watching late games, especially yesterday. Yeah, I had trust in Hansel Robles, that's now gone. I had trust in Matt Barnes, that's now gone. I had trust in a lot of Red Sox players in the bullpen, and a lot of them are gone. We need Josh Taylor back. He was good. Josh Taylor was great last year. Rich Hill going down to injury is not ideal, but it's workable. It's doable. But having Chris Sale saying that he's feeling great, having Alex Cora say that Chris Sale looks like Chris Sale of old, it's like, ooh, okay, let's go.
Change up back now, right? According to Cora.
Yeah, like last year it was the fastball and the slider were the only two pitches that he could throw. Now he's got his changeup back, and it's like, oh boy. Now it's Yearheim where you can say, we're getting Chris Sale. We don't need the trade market, but we still do need the trade market because we need a closer.
Right. He would use that changeup to set up that fastball.
Yep.
So
and then
sets up back effectively is huge.
The changeup will also set up his slider, which is one of the best sliders in the game.
Yes. Well, it's because he's got that delivery.
Yep. And also the fact that he should be slated to come back after the All-Star break in a few weeks. That'll go and help out with, it's always the same song and dance with Chris Sale is down the stretch because of his frame, and his style of throwing. He's just wiry.
Very thin man who throws, believe it or not, for power.
Yep.
Which is
and it works. But
when the games mean more in the stretch and at the end of the season, it's not really a good combination, especially if he has been healthy for the full season, right? Like that is definitely somebody that you want to give time off to and preserve him throughout the season because you want his body to be able to withhold and stand up to an extended postseason run.
Yes. Which hopefully him starting now versus in April will go and help out. The offense seems to be doing well. Again, I still think that time should just go and buck up and pay Xander and Rafael Devers. Neither wants to leave.
No.
And playing excellent, and both are the heart of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have Marcelo Meyer, but maybe JD Martinez doesn't sign. Maybe he doesn't come back. Well, now Marcelo Meyer comes up and he plays third, and Rafael Devers becomes the DH. Rafael Devers basically is the next David Ortiz.
Dude, could you imagine that?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was JD Martinez in a trade package during the trade before the trade deadline.
I think that might hurt more, just because JD Martinez is a big locker room presence. But
you know how Chaim Bloom feels about big contracts.
True, he did come from the Tampa system where it was paying little money for guys like a Kevin Kiermaier or I forget the name of the first baseman.
Hell, what the hell's his name?
Oh, hang on. Tampa Bay Rays first baseman. G-Man Choi, that was it.
I don't think that was the one that I was thinking of.
Were you maybe thinking of Carlos Pena way back in the day?
No, Wander Franco.
They're third baseman, I think.
Shortstop. Third baseman.
Short.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I've actually got a really cool connection to the world of baseball. My dad's cousin, when he was 18 out of high school, got drafted by the Chicago Cubs. And then his oldest, I believe, currently is a relief pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Really?
Yeah, he was drafted in Tyler Beede, Beede. He was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays. I almost said Maple Leafs. By the Toronto Blue Jays back in 2011. He went to Vanderbilt and got drafted again in the MLB draft by the San Francisco Giants in 2014, and he debuted for the Giants in 2018 and got claimed off waivers by the Pirates this year.
No kidding.
So he's last I saw he had what a sub-4 ERA, which is lower than his career of 5.7. So I mean, he's a relief pitcher, so WAR isn't really that big. But he had a 1.5 WHIP, which is pretty good for a relief pitcher.
Yeah, it really is.
It's just unfortunate that he's playing for Pittsburgh. And it's not because I don't like Pittsburgh. Their owners are just horrible for the game of baseball. They rely on the Red Sox, the New York clubs, the Red Sox, the LA clubs, the big market teams. Pittsburgh relies on them to go and get the money that they don't spend.
Yes.
Tampa relies on the big teams to get the money that they don't spend, but they don't spend wisely. That's the difference. Pittsburgh doesn't spend because they just don't care. They just like the fact that they own a baseball team. The Tampa owners, they don't spend, but they're picking guys that they don't need to spend a ton of money on because they're guys who can play.
Do you think profit sharing needs to get out of sports?
In Major League Baseball, they need to have profit sharing because then you don't have a Tampa Bay Rays. Though at the same time, Tampa's problem is their park is in St. Petersburg and nobody goes to St. Petersburg. If they made their park in Tampa, then you're good. I think before profit sharing goes, you need to have these billionaire owners put up like Robert Kraft did with the Patriots and Gillette Stadium, put up their own money for stadiums and stop asking for taxpayer money to fund for 70% or more of the project. It's your team. Yeah, I get that the state is going to, they can go and help out, but maybe not like 70% of state tax money goes to a new stadium. Just because the state of Florida can go and use it for events. Not 70%. 70% of the time it's going to be used by the baseball club.
The owners should front 70. The taxpayers should front 30.
I think less than. I was probably going no higher than like 25.
Yeah, all right, 75-25. I'm okay with that.
You know, but
Or
it's like
Bob Kraft and just fucking get it built.
he did the whole thing 100%. You know, and it's a huge thing for Foxborough because you're going to get, like, I know the promise is like, oh, but the revenue from the stadium, you really think the state is seeing any of that money? Like, that's my question. Do you really think the state is seeing any of the money? Not for Gillette. I'm sure Robert is actually giving the state his money, but do you really think that these billionaire owners are actually giving revenue and tax money for the stadium to the states, or are they somehow finding loopholes?
Oh, they're the king of loopholes. So they're finding
billionaires for a reason.
Right.
So, but that's also a topic of conversation that I'd rather not have for episode 1.
I mean,
that one might be episode 10.
We did say we weren't going to just come out swinging, so we're just going to, kind of mellow and chilling.
Yeah.
So we covered our Bruins, we covered our Sox. What about the NBA? There have been some interesting things going on.
You're going to have to go and take the floor on this one because I am not the biggest NBA basketball fan. But the only time that I really get interested in basketball is March Madness. And if the Celtics are in the playoffs and get all the way to Game 6 of the NBA Finals like they did this year, then I'm absolutely invested. After that, it's like, oh yeah, basketball. I live and breathe baseball. I'm married to the game. I live and breathe hockey. I live and breathe football. And a lot of other sports I pay more attention to, but basketball for some reason just does not hook me like baseball or hockey or basketball or football.
So I think that the NBA has one of the more interesting off seasons out of all of the major sports because they just have a lot of things going on. Like you have Kyrie wanting to get out of Brooklyn. You got Kevin Durant like 4 hours before. And yes, I know that I roll very well. Fuck Kyrie Irving. You got Kevin who 4 hours before the trade, before free agency started, was like, I think I want out of Brooklyn as well. And I have my theories on that. I think it's because Kevin Durant, he doesn't want to be the alpha guy. Like he's okay being the guy that doesn't catch the brunt of everything. He doesn't want to catch the brunt for when the team is bad or underperforming. He doesn't want to catch the brunt of people saying mean things. As we know, Kevin Durant lives on Twitter and lives on social media and likes to clap back at everybody who says even the slightest thing that might not be flattering towards him.
I'll see. He does it differently than people like myself, where if I'm clapping back as Kevin Wilson. I'm not clapping back as Bronson Pilot, and say, yeah, well, Kevin Durant actually does this. No. I'm saying this as, hey, dude, fuck you.
Right.
He's got a bunch of burner accounts that he goes and uses, and it's not like a allegedly thing. No, he's got burner accounts. He admitted to it.
So you have things like that going on. But most recently, our Boston Celtics landed Malcolm Brogdon for a protected first-round pick, Daniel Tice, who filled in for us, Aaron Neesmith, who hasn't done anything since he was drafted, and a ton of bench mob players. And what Brogdon does is he helps the team with ball movement and defense, and he's a shooter. And this past postseason, what were we struggling with? We were struggling with ball movement because it was either going to go to Tatum, Brown, and smart, right? And Brown, at times it seemed like he couldn't hold on. It seems like he couldn't hold on to the ball at
Hmm.
times. Constantly getting stripped. I'm not saying it as a knock against Jaylen Brown. I'm just saying it because that's what happened. Tatum wasn't fully, you know, perfect either. He had some shoulder injuries and he was getting stripped as well. So, so we get so we get Brogdon for that, and then we also get Danilo Gallinari, which is big because he is a wing shooter. Technically, he's, could be a stretch four, um, but essentially, if used correctly, which I think Ime will, he's essentially like a long middle reliever in baseball. You know, kind of like Heath Embry, right? Embry was fucking nails when he was a middle reliever for us with that sidearm delivery. And that's what's going on with that's what's going on with the Celtics. We still have Kevin Durant on the market, and the Celtics are still in that conversation. They also re-signed. This guy has one of the best last names in basketball, Luke Cornett, with a K, not spelled like the cult of Cornett.
Yep.
But Cornet the Hornet is what they called him because he was annoying, but he can also shoot. So you never know when you get stung by the Hornet.
I like that. It needs to be on a T-shirt.
Merchandise now.
Yep.
Also, today is, for those of you that are watching live over on Twitch, you can watch WWE's premium live event. I had to pause there because I'm so used to calling it pay-per-view.
I still like, oh yeah, no, the pay-per-views too. Nope. Premium live event.
PLE. WWE's PLE premium live event, Money in the Bank, over on Peacock starting at 7 p.m. Now, maybe we'll do watch-alongs as we start to grow and get, a little bit more comfortable. We might do watch-alongs with, wrestling. It doesn't matter who. We're fans of pretty much everybody that's out there. In fact, we kind of wish that some places had bigger networks that they were on where it was more readily accessible. Like Impact, yes, we're looking at you, Impact.
So with Impact, they actually do a pretty good job. Like I subscribe and I'm a member to their YouTube, and they do a really good job with YouTube where they give you a match for free a week. They give you Impact Wrestling Show, and I forget what they do for their pay-per-views. If you get like a discount to go and buy them, or I know that they do YouTube exclusive ones. They also have the Impact like app or streaming service, but their streaming service is not always the greatest.
No, but their streaming service is fantastic for if you want the history of Impact.
Mm-hmm.
If you want,
YouTube has the same stuff where you can go back to older pay-per-views, and you can if you. It is the downside is the same thing of the former WWE Network, now Peacock, where you can watch the most recent Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, but you have to wait, I think, a month. With Impact, the pay-per-views, like you got to wait 30 days to be able to watch it for free on YouTube.
So yeah, maybe when we get when we get a little bit more comfortable, we can do some watch-alongs. We do sports watch-alongs. Hell, we could even do movie watch-alongs. Not having the movie up, but we could be Kevin and myself could be watching the movie. We invite you to watch the movie, through a streaming service or what have you, and we can talk about plot points or how we would do things differently. That sounds like something that we could do.
Yeah, it's definitely. Had we started this sooner, we could have gone and done the finale episode of Kenobi. Which, Ray, I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
Okay, good. So that I watched It was very emotional. It tied the Kenobi series tied in. We'll get back to wrestling talk in a minute. The Kenobi series tied a lot of stuff together, like a lot of those loose ends from A New Hope that were left loose ends because of Revenge of the Sith. Like, wait a minute, when Darth Vader goes and says, "The last time we met, I was but the learner, but now I am the master." Was he referring to the battle on Mustafar, or were there other ones? Well, now, and spoiler alert, yes, but also no, it's been a couple of weeks. You should have already seen it. You looky-loos. They've met twice. You also now understand why Obi-Wan says only a master of evil, Darth. At the time, Darth Vader was like the name, first name Darth, last name Vader. Now we know that Darth is a title in Sith hierarchy.
Right.
So now you understand, though, through the Kenobi finale, why Obi-Wan goes and says Darth in A New Hope, because he views that Anakin is truly dead. It was very sinister when you hear, you see the blue light, again, the cinematography and the lighting effects were fantastic. I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. And there's that little bit of blue on the face of Anakin, Darth Vader. And then, you did not kill Anakin Skywalker. And then the blue fades away, and that hint of red comes back as he says, "I did." As you know, Anakin's been gone for 10 years. And just this brief little flash was Anakin almost kind of like that little closure moment of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Like Anakin telling Obi-Wan, "Oh, no, 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 no. You didn't kill Anakin. Darth Vader did." It's the same thing that Darth Vader said to Ahsoka in Rebels. Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him. It's Vader talk. It's not Anakin talking. And it's why I firmly, firmly believe that in Return of the Jedi, firmly grasp it. Firmly believe in Return of the Jedi, when he's talking to Luke before he brings him to the Emperor on Endor, when he says, "Obi-Wan once thought as you do," yeah, that might be a little bit of a weird line to say, but maybe Obi-Wan deep down did think that there is some light, or he remembers Padme's words, that there is good in him. But then he turns around and says, "You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master." And Luke says that my father is truly dead. I think that line stings because Vader at this point is entirely conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
The previous scenes, especially when he finds out, he is conflicted, but it's still in the vein of Darth Vader. I will take him, I will make him my apprentice, kill the Emperor, and I will rule the galaxy. Right. Now there's a little bit more conflict because Luke loves him as my father. That is my father. That is my dad. I love my dad despite what he is and the monster that he is. And there's that conflict that Anakin wanted. Love and acceptance. And somebody who won't abandon him because of what he is. Like the Jedi abandoned him when he needed them most. Abandoned his mother, and it led to her death. So there was a lot of abandonment issues that the Jedi, and I could go for 3 hours on the issues of the Jedi and Anakin Skywalker based off of everything I've read and seen and heard from other Star Wars creators on, all the different Twitches, YouTubes, TikToks, Twitters, everything. But back to Anakin, it was at this point that I think Anakin started to slowly creep out. And when Vader flashes the lightsaber in front of the Emperor to stop Luke from striking the Emperor down, it wasn't to save Palpatine, it was to save Luke. Because, look, I made this mistake with Dooku years and years ago during the Clone Wars. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I think what allowed Vader to lose is when he taunts Luke. Still Vader, but I think Anakin fully started to really pop out. when he saw sister. So you have a twin sister. And then he toyed around saying, well, then perhaps she'll join me. And Luke, boom. And I think at this point, Vader realized, like he saw into Luke's head who that sister was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use my words, not Anakin's words. Oh, shit, I tortured her in the first Death Star.
Right.
Oh, shit. Leia? Fuck!
Right. Everything just kind of came back to roost in his mind once he pieced everything together.
And then Luke's aggression because, he's aggressive because that's his sister and he's going to protect her. Oh, that's my boy. Wait, oh shit, I gotta, You know, and then he lost his hand again. I'm sure in his head, he's like, God damn it. Again? That's why he put the hand up like, this is twice. I don't need a third. No, but I think obviously the true moment of redemption is when he lifts Emperor Palpatine above his head as the Emperor is using Force Lightning against Luke and throwing him down the shaft. That is the ultimate final turn. But I think you saw all these little moments that just made the conflict of Vader versus Anakin bigger and bigger and bigger until it finally imploded into Anakin shoving Darth Vader aside, returning to the light side of the Force, and bringing balance. As was foretold in the prophecy, Anakin is still the chosen one. Rey is not. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Luke. No, it was always Anakin because Anakin was born from the Force. Fight me on it.
It wasn't Mace Windu?
No. No badass motherfucking lightsaber is going to be able to go make you the chosen one. No. If it were Snake.
All right, hold on. Before we get on another Star Wars tangent, let's talk about, and I don't know if you've seen it or not yet, but AEW this past Wednesday had its annual Blood and Guts, otherwise known as War Games, but they can't use the name War Games because, well, WWE. So, did you see it, first of all?
No, I did not, but I have seen a couple of clips.
Right, and we were talking, throughout the match. I was kind of throwing you some updates. I have not followed up, and shame on me. It's kind of been a little bit busy. I have not followed up on Santana's injury. But one of the things to talk about is the fact that Mike Santana got into the match, and he, within like 30 seconds, was a house of fire, clearing everybody out. I forgot, I think it was it was Guevara. It was Sammy Guevara. Picks Sammy Guevara up. He's going to give him that Uranagi backbreaker that he usually does, right? So he Uranagi brings him up, and all of a sudden, he goes to bring him down. His leg goes this fucking weird way.
Oh.
And he Uranagi's, Guevara, and Guevara kind of lands on his leg. Santana grabs his knee, rolls off to the side, never sees Santana again for the entire match. And he was, I think, third to last. Otherwise, it was a good match. It was kind of what you expected. It was bloody. There was a lot of blood. A lot of blood. Everybody was just bleeding. You had the guys from I want to say Pretty Deadly, but that's not it. Version 2.0 or whatever they were called back in NXT.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Angelo and Daddy Magic or something like that.
Yeah, I forget their names. I know who you're talking about. They're the ones that were in Bully Ray's school, right?
Yeah.
Those ones.
They were leaking like sieves. Cesaro was fantastic. He was brutal without any bleeding. Like he wasn't bloody, but he was brutal. They brought out the thumbtacks. They brought out the broken glass. It was good. It was exactly what you expected. It was blood and guts, right? But again, we talked about AEW being bitten by the injury bug with Santana because they have had a very big rash of injuries. You got CM Punk, you got Daniel Bryan. I mean, you have CM Punk, you have uh, Bryan Danielson, um, all out, out with injuries, which is why Cesaro was in there, and Cesaro is now a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. Um, and then the match finishes at the top of the cage, right? And it's a cage, it's a steel cage with a roof on top, so you know what's going to happen. You know somebody's going off. Last year it was Jericho. This year it was Guevara. So Eddie throws Sammy off. Um, Cesaro's got Jericho in no. Cesaro's got Daddy Magic in the sharpshooter. Eddie's got Jericho in that. I forget what Excalibur calls it, but it almost looks like a dragon sleeper, but instead he's got the Jericho's right arm stretched out, so he's cranking back on the head and stretching. I forget what he calls that. And Daddy Magic taps out to the sharpshooter. At first, it looks like they're getting ready to set up an Eddie Cesaro. I'm sorry, an Eddie Claudio feud.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "What are you talking about? I can't. You couldn't even give me this." Like, like he starts and then he just tries to get up, and like you see him get up and then stop, and he just sits back down. And now Claudio comes over and he goes to help him up, and he puts his hand on his shoulder. And he's like, "Give me a hand," and he's like, "Nope, nope." He's like, "I can't get up." He literally mouths it, "I can't get up. My back is killing me, but we won." So you see Claudio just like he kind of mouths. I think it was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, and you see Eddie go, "Yeah, yeah," and kind of just like pushes him away. And then of course everybody gets up, and I had no idea that Mox never did anything on top of the cage because he does not like heights.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter the other day. I'm like,
yeah, evidently Bryce Remsburg, because Remsburg was the ref, so he had to go up there and raise the hand, right? But it took so long getting up there. And Mox was like, "What's the matter?" He's like, "I'm scared of heights." Mox is like, "Yeah, me too, but we gotta go." So you see them. You finally see the ref get up there. You see Mox get up there. Mox is like, looks like he's trying to play peacemaker between Claudio and Eddie, but then he quickly realizes like, oh, Eddie can't get up. So I think it was Claudio, and I think Mox helped Eddie like stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see Eddie kind of doing like the old man, my back hunch, like where you just kind of standing, but you're kind of hunched, and then you got to kind of just stand up straight. So I thought it was a good ending. I thought it was a good match, but I think there may have been two major injuries in that, and then so I don't know where they're going or what that might lead to. I have not seen Rampage, so I did not see the Royal Rampage, which is essentially I guess kind of like the Royal Rumble. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, neither am I. And to be honest, like when it comes to wrestling, like I haven't watched anything since I think like the last WWE show, the last WWE. I really hit like every night when I've been, sitting here watching, my TV, playing a video game or whatever. I've been watching Ted Lasso or The Last Kingdom or other shows that I've been trying to like catch up with. So I got the time, but also just like I feel like with pro wrestling nowadays, with the advent of social media and, seeing clips on Twitter and YouTube all the time, you don't need to watch a 2-hour show once a week to be able to know everything that's going on with the pay-per-view or a premium live event if you're WWE. Like tonight, I know that Cody's not at Money in the Bank, obviously, and I know that Roman's not there, but I also know that Riddle, like the first time I popped on any pro wrestling TV this week was Monday Night Raw because, well, I was hoping to go and see John Cena. And then I turned it off right as John Cena started his promo. not knowing that he was about to start his promo. And then I caught the promo on YouTube anyway. So it's like, I don't need to catch 3 hours of Raw every week to know what's going to happen at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, look at Hulu. Hulu cuts down a 3-hour Raw to an hour and a half. A streaming service is like, yeah, we don't need 3 hours.
Yeah, no.
And you can still get everything that you need.
Yeah. They do the same thing with SmackDown, just obviously it's not an hour and a half, it's like an hour 15 or something. They do it with NXT. With AEW, if I go and watch Dynamite or Rampage, it's because I DVR it on YouTube TV, and boom, I'm able to go and watch, and I skip through the commercials.
Yeah.
But that's my take on it. I mean, I'm definitely going to go and watch Money in the Bank tonight because it is interesting, and I do like watching the Money in the Bank matches to see who wins, and also the placement of them. Like a few years ago when Alexa Bliss won, and it was at the beginning of the show, and later on in the show she won the women's championship by cashing in, or Dean Ambrose the night that all 3 former members of the Shield
being
champion. I love that match. Roman and Seth, that was an excellent match. Seth's first one since the knee injury. Roman having gone through 2 with one of the best ever in AJ Styles. I thought that was a phenomenal match. And then, of course, Dean winning the championship was great. I'll never forget, the camera pans back to him in the ring, and he's like, his veins are popping, and he's just like, oh my God. Ah!
Yeah. And then I think Renee was on.
You're going to win. When you win it, you're just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with my body.
You're juiced, man. You're juiced up on so much adrenaline at that point.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. So, as far as Money in the Bank goes, I'm going to watch it because I love Saturday pay-per-views or premium.
Oh, yes. AEW needs to go back to Saturday pay-per-views. I don't know why they've started doing Sundays all of a sudden. At first, they were doing it all Saturdays, and it was great.
It's fantastic. Everybody needs to go to Saturdays. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Some of us get up at 4 in the fucking morning, jackasses.
Yep. I've always gone and said, look, if you have to go into work hungover, Friday and if you work a job where you have to work on a Saturday, if you're hungover on a Saturday, it's fine. If you're hungover on a Friday, it's fine. The only time it's acceptable to be hungover on a Monday is Super Bowl Monday. And then I also, being a wrestling fan, I also include the Monday following WrestleMania, especially before it became a 2-night event, when it was 8 hours, 9 hours, I don't think you're ever going to see a 1-night WrestleMania again. I think they see the double gate and just the fact that it's a little bit more stomachable to have 2 nights of 4 hours versus 1 8-hour.
Is it really, though? I mean, there's a lot of filler to do that now. Because it's not like both 3 hours tops, that's it, go home. You still have them each running 4 hours. And you know what's going to happen next year? They're going to run 4.5, 5 hours. You know what's going to happen the year after that? They're going to run like 6 hours. So you're going to end up having 2 8-hour days. So what are you going to do? Make a week of fucking WrestleMania at that point? No. The problem is, limit your fucking time. Not everybody needs to be on the fucking card. You can still hand out WrestleMania bonuses or a WrestleMania check to the people that aren't I can talk, I swear, on the card. Hey, congratulations, you made it to WrestleMania season. We haven't, future endeavored you. Here's a WrestleMania check. Thanks for everything you've done. And you can literally go back to it being the showcase of the Immortals.
Yes.
But that's going to be a rant for another show. Right now, let's just wrap it up. Let's go home, Daddy.
Yes, we shall go home, as I am trying to do multiple things at once. Again?
No, not you.
Uh, eh. Ah, dang. I got texted a couple things. I got a couple of the things
Well,
here. I got this. I got that. I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore.
we're on Twitter at twitter.com/the BJD Podcast. You can also, if you're watching live, you're watching us on Twitch. Please make sure that you have subscribed and followed us on Twitch. If you are not watching us on Twitch and you are watching us on YouTube, please head on over to twitch.tv/BJD Pod. Now, for those of you that are watching us over on YouTube through our videos on demand, please like, follow, and share. It costs you free 99. And the best part about you liking, following, and sharing our content, what that means is that allows us to get a custom URL for our YouTube link when we reach their follower goals, which I believe is 100. So once we reach 100 followers or subscribers, as YouTube calls it, we will be able to be posting our YouTube link, which will be youtube.com/the BJD Pod. So please go ahead and do that. And with that, Kevin and I would like to bid you adieu for the conclusion of the first episode of the BJD Podcast.
Sayonara, suckers.